Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Noble Knight deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck just got an amazing field spell that helps out this deck a lot. I'm really excited to show you guys this list, so without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name, description, every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Noble Knight Mantooth. Mantooth is a definite 3-of in the build that has an awesome effect that this card is a normal monster while it's face up on the field, until you equip it with a Noble Arms equip spell card. And when you do equip it with a Noble Arms equip spell card, this card becomes a level 5 and becomes dark. Also gaining the ability that once per turn, if you control no other monsters, you can special summon a Noble Knight monster from your deck in defense position, then destroy an equip spell that you control, which is a great ability just to instantly get you 2 level 4s on your side of the field so that you can make a rank 4 play or go in for a copy of Awalt, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Noble Knight Custonin. Custonin is a great extender in this deck because this card has a really awesome effect that if you control a Noble Arms equip spell, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you use this card as a material on the field to summon out a Noble Knight monster from the X deck, you actually gain the ability to be able to get an additional normal summoner set, which is a great effect on this card. We then play 3 copies of Noble Knight Brothers. This card is a crazy normal summon in the deck because you actually get 3 monsters just for normal summoning this card out to the field. Because it has a really cool ability that when this card is normal summon, you can special summon it up to 2 more Noble Knight monsters from your hand to your side of the field, but it locks you into summoning Noble Knight monsters for the rest of the turn. It also has the ability once per turn, you can target 3 Noble Knight and or Noble Arms cards in the grave, shuffle all 3 into the deck, and then draw a card, which is a great effect to help you recycle some of your resources. We then play 2 copies of Noble Knight Yvain. Yvain's really good as a 2-of in the deck because this card actually generates tokens, which is a great effect to be able to use to help you link summon using this card and the token. We then play a single copy of Noble Knight Boars. Noble Knight Boars is very similar to your copy of Mantooth, that this card shares a similar effect that when it's on your side of the field, it becomes a normal monster until you equip it with a Noble Arms equip spell, and then it gains the ability, this card becomes level 5, and it gains a following effect, which is a really cool ability about this card that during your main phase, you can reveal 3 Noble Arms cards from your deck and have your opponent add 1 randomly to your hand and send the rest to the graveyard, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card to get the exact sword that you need. We then play a single copy of Noble Knight Gawain. Gawain is really good as an extender in the deck because if you control a light normal monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, which works extremely well in this deck as an extender because your copy of Mantooth and Boars will be light normal monsters when they're on their side of the field until you equip them with different Noble Arms cards, which is great about this card. We then play a single copy of Dristan. Dristan's a good 1-of in the deck, but you only need a single copy of Dristan. It has the ability while you control another Noble Knight monster, your opponent cannot target your monsters with less than 1800 attack, except for this card for attacks or with card effects. And when a Noble Arms equip spell card is equipped to this card, you can target a face-up card on the field and destroy that target, which is great to just spot remove cards off the field. We then play a single copy of Noble Knight Artorigus. Artorigus is insane that we can finally play this card thanks to the new field spell, but this card is amazing because this is the card that started it all, the entire Noble Knight archetype, because it's actually based on King Arthur, which is so cool to be able to play this card as a 1-of in the deck finally. We then play a single copy of Ignoble Knight of Black Lancelin. This card is crazy powerful in the deck as a 1-of because you can actually send a face-up light normal monster that you control to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand or your graveyard. You can also tribute a Noble Knight monster to add a Noble Arms card from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to get the exact card that you need. We then play a single copy of Guinevere. Guinevere's basically an equip spell in this deck, which is really cool because this card has the ability you can target a Noble Knight monster that you control and equip this card from your hand or graveyard to that target, and depending on its attribute depends on the effects that it gets. If it's a light monster, then the equipped monster, if it would be destroyed by card effect, you can destroy this card instead, but if it's a dark monster, which is the better effect, then it gains the effect that if it battles an opponent's monster at the start of the damage step, you can destroy that monster, then destroy this card, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card. Plus, it gives the monster this card's equipped to 300 additional bonus attack points, which is great about this card. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's great as a 3-of in this build, basically just to stop your opponent from touching the deck. It's a great hand trap in this build, and it's a really good card in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is great as a 3-of in this build because this card just stops your opponent's monster effects, but it's also a level 1 tuner, making it very easy to summon out the copy of the Ignoble Knight of Hylon Slim. This card is really amazing to be able to use with your copy of your Synchro monster because you can basically just use Effect Veiler plus any of your different monsters that you want that are level 4 Noble Knight monsters to make this card, which is really cool to be able to step into a Synchro monster using Effect Veiler. I love that about this card, and it's probably one of the best tuners in the entire deck to be able to use to go into that card. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, guys, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda's really good because we can search out any of our Noble Knight monsters we want with this card. And then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is a really good 1-of in this build just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play 3 copies of Camelot, Realm of Noble Knights, and Noble Arms. This card is amazing as a 3-of in the deck. It's actually we just got this card out of the Megatim, and it's a really cool field spell that once per turn, if a Noble Knight card you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can destroy an equipped spell that you control instead, giving you some protection for your Noble Knights. And during your main phase, you can banish this card until the next standby phase, and if you do, place 1 Noble Knights of the Round Table from your hand, deck, or graveyard face up on your field spell zone. Then you can special summon an Artorias monster or add to your hand a Noble Arms card from your deck or graveyard, which is a great effect to instantly get those cards out on your side of the field. And this card is really amazing in this particular build as a 3-of because it helps you out with so many different plays, extending your plays and essentially grabbing Noble Arms cards or putting Artorias on your side of the field. We then play, because we are playing Camelot, we're going to play a single copy of Noble Knights of the Round Table. You only need a single copy of this card because it's easy to grab this card off of Camelot. But this card is really cool because during the end phase, you can activate these effects up to, once per turn, depending on the total number of Noble Knight cards with different names in your graveyard and that you control. 3 or more, you can send a Noble Knight card from your deck to the graveyard. 6 or more, special summon 1 Noble Knight monster from your hand, then equip it with 1 Noble Arms equipped spell from your hand to that monster. If you have 9 or more, you can target 1 Noble Knight monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And if you have 12 or more, you actually get the ability to draw a card, which is a great ability to be able to use with this card. It has some really insane effects, but it's a great 1-of to be able to use with your copy of Camelot. We then play 3 copies of Heritage of the Chalice. This card is essentially like the Rhoda for the deck, which is really cool about this card. It lets you add a Noble Knight monster or a Noble Arms card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And if your Noble Knight monster equipped with a Noble Arms equip spell is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard while this card's in the grave, you can add this card back to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to use this card. We then play a single copy of Clarent. Clarent is a really good 1-of in the deck because you can equip this only to a warrior monster, but it lets you pay 500 life points and the equipped monster can attack directly this turn, which is a great effect. And all of your Noble Arms cards actually share a common effect that if this face-up card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target a different warrior Noble Knight monster that you control and equip this card to that target, which is a great effect that basically if one of your Noble Knights drop the sword, a different one can pick up the sword and continue the fight, which is super cool about your Noble Arms. We then play a single copy of Lancelin's Noble Arms. This card is great because it deals with set cards on the field, because it has the ability that once per turn, you can try to set card your opponent controls, and the equipped monster permanently loses 500 attack, and if it does, destroy that target, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card. We then play a single copy of Caliburn. Caliburn is great as a 1-of in the deck because the monster equipped with this card gains 500 attack points, and every turn you can gain 500 life points, which is great. We play a single copy of Gallatin. Gallatin's amazing because the equipped monster gains 1,000 attack points, which is really cool, but during each of your standby phases, it loses 200 attack points, which is a pretty good effect. We then play a single copy of Noble Arms of Destiny. Destiny is really good in this build as a 1-of because it has the ability that the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by a battle or by a card effect, which is a really good effect. We then play 2 copies of Excalibur. Excalibur is insane in this deck. This card is really good because you equip it only to a Noble Knight monster. It cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects and during your turn, except the turn that this card was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card from the grave and then target a Noble Knight XZ monster that you control and special summon from your extra deck 1 Noble Knight XZ monster with a different name by using the targeted XZ monster as a material, which is a great effect. I love that about this card, that it lets you basically just summon out a different one and even take your copy of Artorigus and turn it into the sacred version of Artorigus, which is amazing. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, guys, we're just going to be playing 2, and that's going to be 2 copies of Until Noble Arms Are Needed Again. This card is a great trap card to be able to play in the deck because you activate cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of Noble Arms equipped spells that you control, and if you do, add 1 of them to your hand. Also, place the remaining cards on top of your deck in any order, and you can also banish this card from the grave, except the turn it was sent there, and then special summon from your deck 1 Noble Knight monster with a different name from cards that you control or in your grave, which is great because we play a lot of 1-of Noble Knights in the deck, so it makes it really easy to put 1 on your side of the field. This card is great in the deck as a 2-of, but you don't really need it at 3 because it does break a little bit at 3. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of the rank 4 Artorigus. This card is really good in the deck as a 2-of because it has the ability that when this card is XZ summoned, you can target up to 3 Noble Arms equipped spells with different names in your graveyard and equip those targets to this card, which is a really cool effect. And also, once per turn, you can detach a material from this card and destroy any number of spells and traps on the field up to the number of Noble Arms equipped spells that you control, which is usually going to be 3 when you summon out this card to be able to pop 3 spells and traps. We then play 2 copies of the Sacred Noble Knight of King Artorigus, the Sacred Big One. This is our big boss monster of the deck, and has a really cool ability when this card is XZ summoned. You can basically use the exact same effect as your little Artorigus, as you can target up to 3 Noble Arms equipped spells with different names in your graveyard and equip those targets to this card. And once per turn, you can detach a material from this card and then target 1 other monster on the field and destroy that target. And if this card is sent to the graveyard from the field, you can actually target a level 4 or higher Noble Knight monster in your grave and special summon that target, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card. We then play 2 copies of the Sacred Noble Knight of King Custonin. Custonen's really good as a 2-of in the deck. It has a great effect that you can detach any number of materials from this card and target that many cards that your opponent controls and return those targets back to the hand, which is a great effect to be able to basically compulse cards off the field. And if this card is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the grave, you can special summon 1 Noble Knight XZ monster from your extra deck, except another copy of this card. And if you do, attach this card from your graveyard to that monster as a material, which is a great effect to be able to summon out your copy of your Sacred Noble Knight to your side of the field. This card is usually the first card you're going to be summoning out of your XZ monsters to your side of the field, and then you use this card to be able to step into your copy of your Sacred Noble Knight, which is really amazing. We then play a single copy of Abyss Dweller. This card is great at shutting down the graveyard. This card is just amazing. 1 rank 4 basically flex slot in the deck, but this card is great to be able to use to be able to shut down graveyards. We then play a single copy of AA Zeus. AA Zeus is great to be able to play in this deck as a 1-of because it does board wipe the field, and it's just a great card overall, especially with the amount of XZs that we're playing. We're then playing one of my favorite synchro monsters ever created, 1 copy of the Ignoble Knight of High Loncelin. Use a copy of Effect Veiler plus any of your level 4s to make this card, and when this card is synchro summoned, you can actually equip any Noble Arms equipped spell card from your deck to this card. And at the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed a monster of a battle and send it to the graveyard, you can add a Noble Knight or a Noble Arms card from your deck to your hand, which is a really awesome effect to be able to use with this card. This card is definitely a 1-of in the deck. We then play a single copy of Access Code to be able to pop multiple cards on the field. This card is super helpful in this particular build. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff off the field. We'll play 2 copies of Isolde, which is one of the best Link monsters ever created, because when this card is summoned to your side of the field, you can add a warrior from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability. Then he also has the ability you can send any number of equipped spells with different names from your deck to the graveyard to special summon 1 warrior monster from your deck whose level equals the number of those cards sent to the grave, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card. We then play a single copy of the Furious Flame Swordsman. This card is great as a 1-0 because all warrior monsters gain 500 attack points. And if this Link Summon card is destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect while it's in its owner's monster zone, you can actually target one non-Link warrior monster in the grave and special summon it but banish it when it leaves the field, which is a great effect to basically just replace this card. We then finally play a single copy of IP. IP is really good to be able to step into your copy of Unicorn during the opponent's turn, which is just an amazing effect to be able to use with this card. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you did enjoy this one. If you want to, you can change out the copy of Abyss Dweller for Baguska, which is another option for you guys if you want to, but I'm really liking Abyss Dweller in this build. But I think that is going to do it for this one, guys. This deck is super fun now that we finally have Camelot as a card, which is just so cool that we finally have it as a field spell. I absolutely love Noble Knights because they're super fun to be able to play, to basically just make a really big XZ monster and then just basically go in for game, which is just so cool about this deck. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.